Okay, guys, well, now that you have the number codes from ancient Egypt, I can begin decoding the religious artwork. And this painting in front of me is called the Ladder of Divine Ascent, and it was painted in the 12th century. And it's actually located at St. Catherine's Monastery in the Sinai Peninsula, Egypt. And it's showing monks led by John Climacus ascending the ladder to Jesus at the top. Now, I just want to clarify that there are many layers to the symbols, and Jesus represents many things. Firstly, Jesus represents the light from Orion being transmuted through the sun. And this is the Christ light with the Christ consciousness, the knowledge of the divine. This is what is represented by Jesus when we see him depicted near the sun. We also need to understand that Jesus is both the ethereal and the physical attributes of the divine male twin soul. And as I have stated previously, the first souls that came through, the first souls that were birthed onto the physical realm through God consciousness, are closest to the divine, and there were only a set amount, there were only a certain number that were birthed through onto the physical plane from God consciousness. Now, these souls are the receptacles of divine wisdom, divine knowledge. And these souls, these first souls, these divine souls, are also what the ancient mythology called the gods that walked the earth. And this is because when the light of Orion returns, it is these divine souls that has access to the information. And this is why we see Jesus represented in many different ways. And so Jesus is the embodiment of the divine male twin soul, and Mary Magdalene is the embodiment of the divine female twin soul. And when Mary Magdalene is in the ethereal, when the divine female twin soul is in the ethereal, she is the Virgin Mary. So we can see in Christianity how they have depicted these souls and how they have separated both the physical and ethereal parts of these souls, just as we see that they do this in the Rider-Waite symbolism of the tarot cards. The magician and the high priestess are the ethereal form of the male and female twin soul. The empress and the emperor are the physical attributes that each of these souls bring down with them to be manifest on the physical plane, that is Gaia. So this painting shows a lot of information, and once again it's all encoded in the numbers. And so to start with, we see that the souls are ascending back to God consciousness. And so this can depict the twin souls returning back to God consciousness. And there are 30 rungs on this ladder. Now, if we divide 2 into 30, we get 15. And 1 and 5 is 6. And we know that 6 is the soul in the manifested physical form. So 6 is us when we are in the physical. Now, we can also get 10 from the number 30, because if we divide the Trinity into the number 30, and that's what we use the Trinity for, whenever we divide any number that we have seen encoded into these paintings or into any symbolism, when we divide that number by 3, we get another code, another number. And we see this as well with dividing 3 into 30, we get 10, divide 3 into 10, we get an infinite number. So it is showing that this cycle, this ascension back to God consciousness, back to Christ consciousness, is eternal, is infinite. Now, of course, they're not going to depict any females within these paintings. They often show the female in blue, or they'll have a male in blue and another male in red. And sometimes behind the male that's in blue, they'll have a figure of a female just standing directly behind him, and she will just be in the crowd, or another character within the painting that isn't really being depicted as someone that is at the front of the painting. So you often see that they do symbolize the male and the female within every painting, but they just don't do it blatantly, because this is information that they've hidden from us. They do not want us knowing this information about the twin souls. They do not want us knowing this information about the divine souls, the first souls that came through. These are the souls that begin the new cycle with all the information, and this is why we see them in every culture spoken of. The Messiah that returns, it seems to be every culture has their own Messiah, and they all explain them in exactly the same way. And that is because when we're first birthed onto the physical plane as souls, that there are 4 bloodlines, and each bloodline has its divine souls that begins that bloodline. And as I said, the closer the souls are to the divine, the more memory they have of this information. So we can see also that we have these entities pulling these people off the ladder. And we see once again that we have the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 represented, and one person that is fallen. It's just below where this Facebook information is, but you can actually visit my Facebook group and look at this information yourself. I have photo albums that you can actually see all of these paintings. You can download them and you can view them in more detail for yourself. But we can actually see that one of these souls has fallen, and that's the 7th. And we'll often see that in these paintings. I will show this repeated over and over again, where they show both the number 6 turning into 7 and the number 7 turning into 8. Because 6 turning into 7 is the physical becoming the ethereal. And this is who we want to return to, our ethereal state of being, because that is really who we are. That is how we are manifested onto the physical realm, into these biological, physical suits. These suits are what holds our soul onto this realm. So think of our skin and our body as a container for our soul, so we can exist on this physical reality and experience this physical reality. And we do that through our physical attributes that are also given to us when we are manifested onto the physical plane. And so we can see that these creatures here are showing they are tempting the souls to take the lower road, to take the road of the physical plane of instant gratification and remain basically trapped onto the physical realm. Because if you give in to the weakness of the flesh, and I have an understanding now of what the weakness of the flesh means, and that is that in our physical form, especially the souls that are far removed from the first divine souls that came through with the knowledge, well, they have little memory of who they really are. And it is very easy for them to be tempted by the physical reality in which they exist, in which they think is who they are. They really have a very limited understanding of themselves, as we all do, because we have had this information taken from us. But there shouldn't be so many of us that forget who we are. And those who are more connected to the divine have the better memory. And so if this information is speaking to you, then you shall pretty much know that you have a memory about this information for a reason. Now, I'm not saying that some people are better than others. It's got nothing to do with anyone thinking that they are better or more powerful than others. What it means is that those that are very far removed from the divine, that have forgotten completely about who they are, find it more challenging to move beyond their physical self, move beyond their physical traits, their weakness of the flesh, these behaviors of instant gratification. And I suppose that these souls that do find it more challenging, this all comes up in the weighing of the heart, the time of judgment. This is all going to be part of how they are judged, because they do have that limited understanding of who they really are. And that's unfortunate, but it is the way nature is. And as I said, we're all a fractal, and we all spiral out. So that's exactly how it is with the souls as well. And so we can also see that there are 24 on the ladder, and there's 25 if you include the man that's fallen off the ladder. And so once again, we get 2 plus 4 equals 6, and 2 plus 5 equals 7. So they're showing both the physical body and the ethereal body. So we have 8 entities on one side of the ladder, which is symbolizing, the immortal soul, the ascent back to God consciousness, the infinite God energy. Now, if you take into account the other entity on this side, it brings it to 9. Now, when the twin souls have reunited back together with God consciousness, that is when the 8 becomes the 9. So they have now become divine. And this is where we see what the number 9 is symbolizing. The twin souls, after they have made that journey back up the gates, or the 7 gates back to God consciousness, or the ladder back to the divine. It's even symbolized as a ladder in ancient Egypt also. And we see that even Manly P. Hall speaks about the ladder, Jacob's ladder. And it's all the same thing. It's the journey that we take back to God consciousness, but we take this journey in our ethereal self. And so our ethereal self has to pass the heart. And we don't pass the heart until we have actually been judged. That is when we fully pass the heart. At the moment, our job is to move into the heart, at least energetically move into the heart, so that we can start experiencing reality and connecting into reality how we should. You should be visualizing your environment as basically the way that you can access the divine. Because if you are open to the messages, if you are open to the guideposts that are being provided for you, you will find your path becomes a lot easier, and a lot of your decisions that you make are not so challenging for your life when it unfolds. So that is what we all need to be doing, and especially in these times, because things are going to get a lot more insane. People are going to start going insane. So you really want to extract yourself from that illusion as much as you can, and understand it is the physical that is now the illusion, and it is the ethereal that now is your reality. So you need to actually do an about turn on what you've learned and been programmed with your whole life. And that is that you are just a being of lack, and you are finite. And that is absolutely untrue. You are an infinite, immortal soul existing in this avatar to experience this life. And this is not the end of your journey. Should you be a good person with a good heart and not have wasted your life and not have just given in to the easy way out and the instant gratification. And that's not saying that we have to be a saint. It's just saying that we have to be decent people, and that we are accountable for our behavior, and we are accountable for our actions. So anyway, that is the decoding of the first religious painting that I have brought to you. As I said, you can find this in my photo album in my group, and you can look at this and the information that I have provided alongside it in more detail. So I'll leave it there, guys, and as always, peace out.